Hey,
Hey, how are you?
good. How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're perfect.
All right. I wasn't sure if I should use my earbud or the speaker, so awesome.
I definitely went earbuds today,
Yeah.
so uh
I'm a
uh
newbie to this Instagram live, so this is fun.
this is awesome. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We're with Jodi. We got some exciting things to talk about with her Succeed with Dyslexia campaign as well as Go Red. But Jodi, I want to get into your story and what brought you to being involved in education and specifically dyslexia community.
Well, I think, thanks for having me, by the way. I'm going to share the whole Oregon story and why I love it so much, but I'm just really happy to be here tonight, so thanks for that.
Well, thanks for taking the
Um,
time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we share so much vision, amongst the Oregon IDA and decoding and yourself and myself that it's just been a really fun journey for me. But so, yeah, I was actually working for the airlines during September 11th. Um, and obviously the world fell apart and I was a single mom and I thought I should get a job. So education wasn't necessarily, my go-to I wanted to do. Um, but I got a really great opportunity to learn government contracting. And with that, it allowed me the opportunity to learn purchasing in the school districts. And although that sounds really boring, I'm a kind of person that likes to dig in and keep peeling those layers of the onion back. And I think that's what really started my passion for education was understanding that a lot of the money was being spent in I would say, wasted a bit is a good word for it. And
Sure.
to be able to help schools understand how they could save by using contracts and save money in one area, they could spend that money in other areas. And I just really enjoyed that because I went to a school that was a pretty low income school at one point, and it's pretty eye opening for me because I grew up in small town Pennsylvania and I came out here to California and it's so fast and furious, out here. And I went to a school and I saw these kids and they had never had a field trip or anything, and I was just blown away by this. So I thought I should help. And I was able to save them so much money. They were able to have on a computer purchase that they were able to have a field trip for the first time. And I think that was kind of the ignition to my candle. Um,
So I gotta ask you before you go on. I
yeah, yeah,
mean, it's like so amazing your journey from being in one of the biggest tragedies
yeah,
of our time
absolutely.
to then transitioning to schools and then specifically
Which
diving
is
into
which is the second tragedy.
right. Well, yeah, no, good point. Well played.
Yeah.
But to diving into the numbers, where a lot of people like would shy away from or maybe not see value in, now you're diving into the numbers. Had you always been that way, or is that
I think it was my desire to learn after that. The airlines was really easy for me because I'm a people person. So I loved the interaction with people of always understanding that, like, I'm going to load 180 people and they're all going to have different personalities and different things happening. And so, as ironic as it sounds, most people hate the airline agents, but I was one that, like, I just loved my job and I loved talking to different people. And so, when I got into education, I just found there was a lot to learn. And to be fair, the guy that said, "Do you want to learn this?" I said, "Sure." And I had no idea what I was getting into. And I came in to my office and there were literally boxes stacked in an office with a business card and a post-it note that said, "Any questions, call her." And it was the Department of General Services for California. So talk about diving deep from, this big tragedy into this world. But I just really loved learning and learning all the ins and outs and kind of what was happening with the world. And one of the contracts I got to work on was with Homeland Security, and it was all kind of around what happened to September 11th. And so that was really exciting for me to be able to feel like I was helping, I guess. And that's just who I am. I like to help.
yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
and so, yeah, so then it was just this purchasing onion of things where you're just like, what? You wasted how much money on that? You know, and it was just interesting to see the savings and stuff. And then I think I was 36 years old before I realized I was a visual learner.
Wow.
Yeah, talk about, that's why, you know, if you were to ask me about early intervention, why I think it's super important is because nobody ever told me anything. I just grew up, you know, running amok. And so,
You're just trying to dive in right into it without.
yeah. And so oftentimes I wonder, you know, had I had someone intervene, would I have learned differently about things? Because I love science, absolutely love science. But I didn't know that till I was 36. And I consulted for a 3D company out of Hollywood. And they were doing science. They were partnered with Texas Instruments, and they were doing 3D science in the classroom. So it was, you know, the heart floating in front of you, and it was watching the blood flow go through, or it was watching how an antibiotic worked inside the body, but all in front of you in these vivid colors, you know. And the periodic table, how boring is that, right? And for me, it was black and white on a wall. And to see that in these vivid colors really was exciting. And I thought, well, you know, kids need to see this. And then it went into VR and stuff. And so I was always kind of on that
Wow.
cutting edge side of things. But anyways,
So
that's
then,
how I got into it.
okay, so then, okay, which is an amazing story in itself. I wish we had more time because
Yeah,
I
no,
have so many
that's
more
fine.
questions on that. But to dive in specifically to dyslexia, and I
Yeah.
understand like you're kind of learning your own learning style, but where did that connection come from?
So when one of the companies that I got to work for happened to be, I was always in EdTech for the first part of my journey. And I've been doing education technology for 18 years now. So I was always in EdTech. I got the opportunity to work with a company called Tapit that had a touch screen that was for students with disabilities, and it was kids with CP and kids with different things. And so when the smart boards came to the schools and they were on the walls and the kids couldn't get up to it, it wasn't accessible, right? So there needed to be some access and stuff. And so that was something new to me. I didn't know that there was this whole special ed side of the world. And so I did that for like 3.5 years. And then I met Jack and Toby from Scanning Pens. And as you know, Jack's dyslexic.
Yeah.
He's our CEO. And they offered me to come over and help them work with them and stuff. And it really opened my eyes fast and furious, I will say, because I think I joined August, and by November, we were already into the IDA Georgia show. And literacy and just where literacy is in America today really just was eye-opening. Again, like I said, peeling that onion back, it's just like, here I started out in purchasing, then I started out in like technology and then special ed and just all these things that people just don't think about, right? And I'm just like, oh,
Right.
I've got to save the world in this, right? And yeah, so literacy became a big issue when I realized that 4th and 8th graders, you know, are reading at 35% proficient, you know, 35% of them proficient. I'm like, well, what is happening? And there's, you know, 30 million Americans that are illiterate. Like, I just really needed to help. But only that part came into on the literacy side from understanding dyslexia and people that aren't getting diagnosed properly or early enough or things like that. And so I think Jack's story, which we're going to get into with the Go Red, you know, really leads into why I got really passionate about it. I don't know what people know about Scanning Pens, but we have a lot of passionate people about education, and it all started with Jack, who is, fun fact, Winston Churchill's great grandson. Um, but really just he's dyslexic and has this passion to help students have access to printed text, and anybody of all ages have access.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite conversations with you and Jack, and I think it was at the Oregon Spring Symposium, might have been a year or two ago. And it was just like to be able to sit down with somebody who's dyslexic, but also a CEO and who gets it and has a broader vision with yourself, who's diving into this like
Yeah.
full scale. It was really inspiring. It was like really a meaningful time. And so I always appreciated what you do for the community as a whole. And so,
Thanks.
on that note, like, can you talk about your connection? Because you're connected to the Oregon community in like such a special way. I feel like through Decoding Dyslexia, through IDA Oregon branch. I mean, it just seems like a special relationship.
It is a really special relationship. And I got to be honest, you're a part of why that became for me, because I came up to the Oregon IDA show 3 years ago, I think it was. And it happened to be when you were speaking. And I just happened to be a vendor and thought, well, this will be fun to go to Oregon. I've never been to Oregon, right? And I met Liz and Jane, and I just thought, what a fabulous group of ladies, right? And then I met Lisa from Decoding. And, when you just meet people that click, and we just really click because we're all very passionate. I mean, we work at crazy hours to keep going, but we all enjoy it, right?
Right.
And when you told your story, I'm not going to lie, I cried. And I went back and told Jack and them, like, oh my God, there's this phenomenal guy that ran these marathons, and it just really touched my heart listening to you. So thank you for opening my eyes, because hearing your story with your parents was just really special for me. And then, seriously though, Jared, you're amazing.
Yeah.
So then from there, I just really connected with you guys, and I saw this special community up there of how much you guys really dive into your community. And I think, being from California, not saying that Californians don't have community, so before people think I'm saying that, it's just I come from the Midwest, and I grew up in a very community knit, tight-knit community.
Sure.
And then coming out here, it was very different. And going up to Oregon, I think, felt like home a bit. And when I realized, like, there's Decoding, there's IDA, there's OTAP, the technology lending library. There's also, Carrie at Community Vision doing so much for her community, that I just thought it was so important for us to tell that story, because it does take a community to support, and help students succeed with dyslexia, for lack of better words.
Absolutely. For people on the line, we're with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch tonight. We're talking to Jodi. She's sharing her story, and we're going to get into this Succeed with Dyslexia campaign. But before that, with this community, you built a really cool video project that really showcased the work that Lisa is doing, Decoding Dyslexia is doing, Oregon IDA is doing, and all these, Park Academy, all these different assets to bring awareness. And can you talk a little bit about that project?
Well, once I saw you guys and met everybody and just really had that connection, I thought Jack had some really amazing videos for scanning pens in the UK, and they had wanted to have US videos for quite some time. And so that was tasked on me to find some people. And I thought, oh man, who can I get, right? And so one of them that I had gotten was New York City. And that was great. But I thought to myself, and it was 4th and 5th grade inclusion classrooms, and that was really all wonderful. But it was a different story, because it wasn't a community story, and it also wasn't going to be relatable to every single community across America, through the Midwest. All the different states are a bit different. And then I had the opportunity to do one in Arizona, which was very special needs. It was very differing disabilities that weren't like dyslexia. And so it was more, oh gosh, I forgot the word, so I'm sorry. Developmental disorders. And then that's not relatable to everybody either, right? So I just thought of you guys, and I thought this community has to have this story told. And, just you're connected into that story with your story and what you do for the IDA. And I just thought it was a great story to be told. So we made that video, and it's out there now. So it's phenomenal.
Amazing work that you're doing. Okay, so let's dive into it. Succeed with Dyslexia.
Yeah.
What is this campaign all about? Like, what's going on with it, and where we're at, and kind of the evolution of it, if you can.
Yeah, for sure. So where Succeed with Dyslexia came from is pretty organic, to be honest. We go to a lot of trade shows. We sponsor a lot of the IDA events across the country and stuff like that. And back in 2017, we had thought about, every vendor goes to shows with their logos and stuff, and that's all great. But when you go home, you have all these tchotchkes, and things that you've picked up from all the tables, but none of it really holds some value to you. And so when we were talking, James at Scanning Pens actually was like, we should do this Succeed with Dyslexia hashtag and do some shirts and some cups and stuff. And I was like, oh, James, that's a great idea, and it just took off. Right. And from that, it kind of evolved into being the positive message. So we had coffee mugs and we had t-shirts, and it was kind of our giveaways at the shows so that people could go home with something positive. And from there, it just evolved, though, because people really loved it. And they would come running up and go, can I have that cup? And, I'm like, but I need it till the end of the show. So it's kind of funny. But then, where people wanted shirts and I didn't bring enough or something, Jack started thinking, and he's always wanted to give back to the dyslexic community anyways. And, so he thought to himself, what can we do with it? So we've turned it into a blog and kind of just a positive community and a positive space for people to share their stories and different things to happen. And we run different campaigns through there, which is where the Go Red for dyslexia kind of stems underneath Succeed. So there's a running one under there, by the way, that you need to get involved in. It's under Succeed, and it's a running one. So
what is that one called?
I have to look it up. But,
okay, well, you'll get it to me. We'll do it.
Yeah,
I'm on it. I'm in 100%. But I think there's something I want to get into Go Red, but yeah, Succeed with Dyslexia does really change the game for me. I see that as a messaging that people can relate to it. They know that there are strengths, that people that are challenged with dyslexia are in the struggle. Our students do struggle with certain aspects, but they also have some key identifying strengths. And when you talk about succeeding with dyslexia, I think you bring that about and you bring that messaging about. And I think it's so powerful and important that people are going to want to wear the shirt, or people are going to want to have the coffee mug on their table, because it is that reminder. So I think it's such a beautiful message that you've created. And I'm just excited to see where that evolution of it and where it evolves to.
I am too. And what's really fun for me is just when it really kind of connected the dots for me too on relating with people. Because I told you at the airlines, I was a real people person, but I would go to a show. I am. I would go to the shows and I'd have a Succeed with Dyslexia t-shirt on. And, to be honest, in 18 years, I've never worn a t-shirt to a trade show. But what I found is people really connect to you because they think you understand them. And I think that there's a very misunderstood community within dyslexia. I think you guys handle that really well when you talk to your student empowerment panel, and just those kids are phenomenal, with what they talk about. And I think that it's misunderstood a lot of times. And so what's really great for me is I'll wear the shirt and it doesn't matter where you're at, you get chased down. So I've been chased down in an airport going, oh, I have dyslexia, I just love your shirt. Or the Uber guy is like, oh, I started my business as an Uber guy or a limousine guy because he has dyslexia and didn't think that he could get a job. So this was his way of, it just was really cool. So we have a great time giving out shirts in the airports. And, the Wrigley's Girl Gum was shoving gum in my bag at an airport while she's saying, can I have a shirt? Can I have a shirt? So,
it's amazing. And I can totally visualize that happening with the people that are. It is really a community builder. Yeah. So talk to me about Go Red. What is this all about? I mean, because for even people that maybe watching that might not even know where it's stemming from, I think it'd be kind of cool, the origin of this Go Red campaign.
Yeah, so it's interesting because the true origin is still a mystery, Jared.
Oh, okay.
It is still a bit of a mystery, but in a good way.
Right.
We got involved 2 years ago, so last year. This is our second year getting involved in it. And again, with the fact that Jack really likes to look at how can we impact, and us as a whole, as a company, we always talk about how can we impact the community and help you know, the dyslexic community more, and, you know, just schools in general. And now we're into the correctional education and things like that too. So we're just trying to help in a lot of different ways. And we have this worldwide network, so why not, you know, try to connect it. But where last year we connected with Lisa, so Lisa Lyon from Decoding in Oregon, and then she was doing the lighting up of the roller coaster, and
Cool.
yeah, and then in Australia they were doing Code Read, which was red also. And so we thought, we partnered with them. We partnered with a group in Canada and just kind of shared what they were doing, right? It was just shining a light on what people were doing. But as I started to read into it more, it kind of started in Alabama in 2012-ish, 2014-ish. And it was a mom who wrote a blog, which I'm trying desperately to talk to her, but I have not been able to connect with her.
If you talk to her, I want her on the show too.
Yeah,
So tell her
seriously.
she has to come on.
Seriously. Yes. So I'm trying to get her. Her name is Christy, but I'm trying to get her. But she wrote a blog that touched my heart. Like, you know, how I love it when people can touch my heart. So she wrote this blog about her son and how she was calling it Redeeming Red. And it was Dyslexia Awareness Month. She wanted to redeem the color red because her son always saw it on his homework and saw it on his tests. And it was very discouraging to constantly see red marks across the pages.
Taking back the power of the red pen there.
Exactly. And so hearing that story, he was very young. And so she was able to get this proclamation for like World Dyslexia Day or something like that. And that happened like in 2014. And then there's a couple other moms out there that was called 1 in 5 or something. And but the point was you had these great passionate people starting up this Lighting It Red, but there was no one kind of pulling it together to really make it bright red, you know?
Yeah.
And so all we've done is create Under Succeed, the Go Red campaign, which is just really pulling together anybody and everybody that's involved in the dyslexic community that would like to take that power back and go red. So there's buildings lighting up all over the place. The unfortunate part is sometimes we don't get pictures of them, but like there was a fun Ferris wheel in South Carolina that lit up red at Myrtle Beach this weekend, and no pictures. There was no one there. So, but
well, it's a hard time
people,
too. It's a challenging time
to get out, right? Yeah.
Right.
So, but we had like the LA Coliseum this year that joined in, and I would say this year has really. There's been a little bit of confusion, I would say, just a tiny bit of confusion from a lot of people as to why are we trying to do it and why red, right? It's an election year, and so people get really confused at that, and it has nothing to do with that. And then there's the I think the Red for Ed, which is the teachers unions that are striking, and so there's a lot of confusion around it. But when you look into it, you know, and understand, we're just trying to shine a light. We have on the website now, this year it blew up. So I was just looking, and it has like 45 associations, 40 companies, 38 organizations, and 7 schools that have, you know, kind of jumped on. And I know I have probably a good 10 to 15 more. I just haven't had time to add them from here in the States. So it's been really great, you know, this year, to see the participation and stuff like that. So,
well, I think it's so powerful what you're doing, and I think it's cool that you've found somewhat of the origin story too.
Right.
Right.
That's me. I gotta know. I gotta peel that onion back and say, where did this start?
And I think I know sounds like there's a lot of things revolving around the color red, but this is, I think, really important for the dyslexia community because so often these kids don't feel empowered, you know, they feel it. And so to take back the power of that color that creates so much heartbreak within the community and puts people on a path that might not be such a positive path. I think that is a really powerful message that you're shining a light on. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I think it's been really fun for Jack. So you might have Jack on here one day,
Let's
because
do it.
he's a good time to talk to. Yeah, and he's just new to the Instagram Live, so he's loving that.
Oh,
So
he is a special spirit, and we appreciate
yeah,
all that he does because he is
yeah,
giving back so much to the community. So
yeah,
between
absolutely.
the work you and Jack are both doing is just it's phenomenal. Okay, the rule of the show is
Yes.
the guest has the last word.
Okay.
So, what is your message to the dyslexic community, whether it's parents or students or educators? Like, what's your message? What would you like people to know?
So I have two. One, I think, is there's still time to go red. So if you want to go red, go to the website, goredfordyslexia.com, and let us know you'd like to go red. We have, for the IDA branches and some of the schools and stuff, we have, I'm going to show you my disaster right now. We have a beach
Oh,
ball.
there we
Um,
go.
this beach ball, the cute dog that was on the Twitter feed bit it before my talk with you, so it is now deflated. But this beach ball is going to make it around the world. There's a lot of people in different states and around all countries making videos, passing the ball around, and I think that's going to be a really great video. So if people would still want to get involved, that's one thing. But the second thing, I think that more importantly on just the education and the whole picture of this with dyslexia is just going back to how we all met. And this community in Oregon is just understanding, that I do a lot of presentations and thinking about, I hear people say, oh, I didn't know about that. And I feel like, wow, you didn't know, they should have known, And so I think what I'd like people to take away, no matter what state you're listening from, is just that you have a community. Every state has a community. Every city has it. Look for your community. Seek the people that can help. And if you're a person that can help, then seek people you can help. Because I think more than anything in our times right now, we really need communities to come together. And with that, when you look into your communities, think about corporations that might be able to help with funding or want to support you, because a lot of them just need to hear your story and they're willing to help. Um, I can just tell you, my daughter works for Bank of America, and they do a lot with special education. They do a lot with charitable giving and have a whole department around it. So definitely look into that. And then look into your IDA branches and your decoding dyslexias and your other dyslexia groups. And, just finding your community, I think, is really important. There, again, those lending libraries, you can try all types of assistive technology. Not one is for everybody. You just have to find what works. And those communities can loan you the products so you can try them before you buy them, which is a really positive thing for parents. So I think that's kind of what I'd like to leave you with, is just thinking about the people that can help in your communities. And thank you for what you guys do in
Yeah,
Oregon.
well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking the time to join us on a Monday night. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, so it's early in Dyslexia Awareness Month, so it's still time to go red. Go check it out. Go check out what Jodi and Jack are doing, Succeed with Dyslexia, and what their campaign's all about. And then let's continue to build this community. And whether it's within your state or beyond, there's no borders with dyslexia, and we're all in this together. So I think that's a beautiful message, Jodi, and just so appreciate your time. And you have a great
Absolutely.
night.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.